All right, close your eyes for a second and picture this. It's the late 90s. Dial-up tones are screaming through the speakers. Yahoo's still the king of search. And every website looks like it was built by a kid learning HTML for the first time. The internet was wild, unorganized, and full of chaos. But in one Stanford dorm room, two college students were about to flip the entire thing upside down. This is where it all begins, the birth of Google. Larry Page and Sergey Brin. You probably heard those names a million times, but back then, they were just two brilliant yet awkward grad students trying to figure out how the web worked. Larry came from Michigan, quiet, analytical, obsessed with engineering. Sergey was from Russia, outspoken, curious, with a sharp sense of humor. They met at Stanford in 1995, and at first, they didn't even get along. They argued about everything: how search engines should work, how data should be stored, even who was smarter. But deep down, they shared one thing: a crazy obsession with organizing information. So they start tinkering. Larry begins a research project analyzing how websites link to one another, like a popularity map of the internet. Sergey joins in, and together they call it backrub. Yeah, that name didn't age well, but this was the foundation of something huge. Instead of ranking pages by keywords, like Yahoo or AltaVista, backrub ranked them by how many other sites linked to them. That system became PageRank, a mathematical formula that literally changed how people find information. Imagine the difference. Before Google, you type something like best laptop, and you get a mess of random sites filled with spam. After Google's algorithm, you'd get the most relevant, high-quality results. It was like the internet finally learned how to think. By 1997, backrub wasn't cutting it. They needed a better name, something that captured infinite information. They chose Google, a twist on Google, which is a 1 followed by 100 zeros. It symbolized endless data, endless possibilities. It was catchy, weird, and geeky in the best way. Their first servers? A Frankenstein mix of cheap parts, cables, and even Lego bricks used as mounts. It wasn't pretty, but it worked. They ran it straight out of their Stanford dorm, crashed into universities, networked more than once. The professors hated it, but they couldn't deny it was brilliant. 1998, the year everything changed. Larry and Sergey officially turned their project into a company. They didn't have fancy offices or investors, just a dream in a garage. And not just any garage. It belonged to Susan Wojcicki, who would later become the CEO of YouTube. Imagine that. The future CEO of one internet empire renting her garage to the founders of another. They printed their first logo using GIMP. They handled customer emails personally. It was messy, but it was magic. They even convinced Andy Bechtolsheim, co-founder of Sun Microsystems, to check out their demo. He watched for 5 minutes, said looks good, and wrote a $100,000 check on the spot. Funny thing, Google didn't even have a bank account yet. That check sat in a drawer until they made one. But here's the thing. In 1999, search engines weren't cool. Investors wanted portals, not search bars. Everyone thought Yahoo and AOL had already won. So Larry and Sergey tried to sell Google to Excite for just $1 million. Excite passed, one of the biggest mistakes in tech history. Fast forward 20 years, that $1 million idea is now worth over $1 trillion. Even in those early days, Google had its own unique vibe. No suits, no cubicles, no corporate nonsense. They worked barefoot, blasted music, debated over whiteboards, and fueled themselves on pizza and caffeine. Their motto? Work hard, play hard, and think 10 years ahead. Every intern was encouraged to experiment. Every engineer could pitch an idea. That startup culture became their secret weapon. By 2000, Google wasn't just another search engine. It was the search engine. Millions of people were using it every day, and the phrase, just Google it, started to take off. But what made it different wasn't just the tech. It was the mission. Larry and Sergey wrote it down: to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible and useful. Simple, powerful, and visionary. That mission became the company's DNA. It wasn't about making money, not yet. It was about making the web make sense. And for the first time, People could actually find what they were looking for online. By the end of 2000, Google had secured big investments, hired its first real team, and launched its first ever ad platform, a small test that would later become AdWords. The pieces were coming together. The garage dream had turned into a growing empire, fast. So yeah, it all started with two college kids, a dorm room, and a dream to make the internet smarter. They didn't know they were building a company that would redefine technology. They just wanted to make search better. But as history would show, that dream was only the beginning. When the calendar flipped to the 2000s, Google was no longer just a cool college project. It was starting to reshape the entire web. Search was faster, smarter, and cleaner than anything out there. But the real story of this decade, it's how Google figured out how to turn that search bar into a money-making, world-changing machine. At the start of 2001, Google was popular, but broke. Millions of people were using it every day, but popularity doesn't pay the bills. Larry and Sergey weren't in it for the money. They were engineers, dreamers, but their investors, they wanted results. So Google needed a business model, something sustainable, something scalable. And that's where AdWords came in. AdWords was simple genius. Instead of throwing up flashy banners like other sites, Google introduced small, text-based ads that matched what people search for. You searched best laptop, you saw ad for laptops. You searched cheap flights, boom, flight deals. And here's the kicker. Advertisers only paid when people clicked. That pay-per-click system changed online advertising forever. By 2004, AdWords wasn't just a feature. It was the engine driving Google's rocket. In August 2004, Google went public. The world finally saw the numbers. And they were insane. The company was valued at over $23 billion on day one. Thousands of early employees became millionaires overnight. Larry and Sergey were suddenly two of the richest people on Earth, but they still rolled into work in jeans and sneakers. Their motto, "Don't be evil," was printed right into the company's code of conduct. It was a promise to the world. They'd grow big, but stay good. On April 1st, 2004, Google dropped a bombshell, Gmail. At first, everyone thought it was a joke. 1 gigabyte of free storage? In 2004, unreal. Hotmail and Yahoo Mail gave you like 2 megabytes. But Google was playing chess while everyone else was playing checkers. They built Gmail using Ajax, a technology that made it fast, dynamic, and smooth. It felt alive. And behind the scenes, Gmail was the ultimate data machine, indexing messages just like it indexed the web. It didn't just send emails, it learned from them. In 2005, Google bought a small company called Keyhole, which became Google Earth. Suddenly, anyone could zoom into their house from space. Then came Google Maps, and boom, the world changed again. You could get directions, explore cities, find restaurants, and even see street views. It made traveling, exploring, and understanding geography simple, addictive, even. The whole world was now one click away. 2006, one of the boldest business moves in internet history. Google bought YouTube for $1.65 billion. Back then, YouTube was just 2 years old, full of home videos, memes, and low-res clips. People said Google overpaid. They didn't get it. But Google saw the future of video. They realized that one day, video would dominate the internet. And they were right. Within 5 years, YouTube became the biggest video platform in the world. And today, it's the second most visited website on the planet, right after Google.com. In 2008, Google did something unexpected. They launched Chrome. At the time, Internet Explorer ruled the browser world. Firefox was a scrappy challenger. People thought Google was crazy. But Chrome was different, lightweight, super fast, and clean. No toolbars, no junk, no pop-ups. It focused on one thing, getting you to your information fast. Within 2 years, Chrome started dominating. And by the end of the decade, it was the most used browser on Earth. Chrome didn't just win users. It gave Google total control over how people experienced the web. Meanwhile, another revolution was brewing. Google had quietly bought a small company called Android back in 2005. At first, no one paid attention. Then Apple dropped the iPhone in 2007, and the world went mobile. Google saw it coming. They built Android as an open-source alternative, free for phone makers to use. That single decision turned Android into a global force. By 2010, it was everywhere: phones, tablets, cars, TVs. It wasn't just software. It was a Trojan horse that put Google into billions of hands. By the late 2000s, Google had it all: money, influence, and a growing army of engineers. But with power came pressure. Competitors like Microsoft and Yahoo were gunning for them. Governments were watching. People were starting to ask hard questions about privacy and data. What exactly was Google doing with all the information it collected? The company's clean image was starting to face cracks. Small ones, but noticeable. By 2010, the world had changed. Google wasn't just a search engine anymore. It was a verb, a habit, a part of life. From the moment people woke up to when they went to sleep, Google was in their world. Email, maps, videos, browsers, phones. Everything connected. And that connection meant power. The kind of power no company had ever held before. The 2000s were the decade Google stopped being the underdog and became the empire. They learned how to make money, how to grow, and how to reach every corner of the globe. But in the next decade, they'd learn what it meant to carry that kind of power and the consequences that came with it. By 2010, Google wasn't just part of the internet. It was the internet. If you searched, watched, navigated, or emailed, chances were you were using a Google product. But as their empire grew, so did their power, and the world was about to start asking what that power really meant. The 2010s opened with Google standing tall. They owned search, email, maps, ads, browsers, and mobile systems. It was like a digital monarchy. Google on top, everyone else orbiting around it. But success doesn't come without challenges. As they grew, so did the pressure from governments, competitors, and even their own employees. Chrome wasn't just a browser anymore. It had become the gateway to the web. Fast, minimal, and sleek, it integrated with Gmail, Google Drive, Docs, and YouTube. People didn't realize it at first, but Chrome gave Google something massive: data. Every click, every site visit, every search, all feeding back into the machine. It was like Google had built the world's most powerful mirror, reflecting humanity's online habits in real time. Meanwhile, Android had become unstoppable. By 2013, it was running on over 80% of smartphones worldwide. It didn't matter if you were in Los Angeles, Lagos, or London. The odds were you were holding a Google-powered device. And with that came Google services: Maps, YouTube, Chrome, and of course, search. They had created an ecosystem so massive that even Apple couldn't fully escape it. Android made Google a daily habit for billions. If you want to know what power looked like in the 2010s, you only had to open YouTube. From makeup tutorials to presidential debates, everything was there. Creators became celebrities, and Google became the new media empire. Billions of hours were watched every day. The algorithm decided what people saw, who became famous, and even what ideas spread. It wasn't just a website. It was shaping culture itself. But that power brought problems: misinformation, copyright wars, and demonetization controversies. YouTube wasn't just entertainment. It was influence. Behind the scenes, Google was quietly moving into a new frontier: artificial intelligence. They knew the next revolution wouldn't be about search engines, but about smart systems that could think and learn. So they started investing big time. In 2014, Google bought DeepMind, a British AI company known for creating machines that could teach themselves. Within a few years, DeepMind's AI defeated the world's best human Go player, a feat no one thought was possible. It was a signal. Google wasn't just collecting data anymore. They were teaching machines to understand it. Then, in 2015, a curveball. Google announced it was restructuring, creating a new parent company called Alphabet. Why? To separate its core business, search, ads, YouTube, from its crazy moonshot projects. Things like self-driving cars, Waymo, health tech Calico, smart homes, Nest, and balloon-powered internet, Loon. It was a business move, but also symbolic. Google was no longer just a company. It was an ecosystem of innovation. Larry Page became CEO of Alphabet. Sergey Brin stepped into background, and Sundar Pichai, a calm, brilliant engineer from India, took over as Google's new CEO. As Google expanded, the world started noticing just how much it knew. Searches, emails, locations, habits. Google's servers were bursting with the most personal data on Earth, and that freaked people out. Privacy became the buzzword of the decade. Governments started investigating. Europe hit Google with billion-dollar fines for monopolistic behavior. The U.S. Senate dragged execs into hearings. The world loved Google's services, but didn't trust the power behind them. Even inside Google, things were changing. Employees started speaking up about ethics, diversity, and the company's relationship with the military. In 2018, thousands of Googlers walked out to protest how leadership handled misconduct cases. That "don't be evil" motto, it started sounding like a question instead of a promise. The company that once felt like a playground now felt like a political battlefield. By the late 2010s, Google's AI was everywhere, in photos, Gmail, and even voice assistants. Hey Google became part of people's lives. The assistant could answer questions, set reminders, even hold conversations. It was convenient, maybe too convenient, because every interaction taught Google more about human behavior. The line between tech and humanity was starting to blur. By 2020, Google was worth over $1 trillion. It was the first search engine to become a household name on every continent. Billions of searches, millions of ads, countless hours of video, all running through its servers every single day. But as it grew, so did the skepticism. Was Google still the hero of the internet? Or had it become too powerful to be trusted? The 2010s were the decade Google became more than a company. It became a force of nature, driving innovation, shaping culture, and rewriting how humans interact with technology. But behind that power, a storm was brewing. AI was getting smarter, competition was rising, and the line between helpful and too powerful was fading fast. The 2020s began with chaos, a global pandemic, social unrest, and a world suddenly forced to live online. And right in the center of it all was Google, not just surviving, but evolving. This was no longer the story of a search engine. This was the story of an empire learning how to adapt to a new age, the age of AI. When COVID hit, the internet became the new world. Offices turned into Zoom rooms. Schools moved to Google Classroom, and millions of people depended on Google Meet to stay connected. Google search became the front line for everything, from how to make hand sanitizer to vaccine near me. The company that once just helped you find things suddenly became essential to global life. It wasn't just a website anymore. It was infrastructure, invisible, but everywhere. By 2021, Google was bigger than ever, but quieter too. Sundar Pichai led with calm confidence, steering a company now worth well over $1 trillion. Larry and Sergey had faded from the public eye, content to watch from a distance. But behind the calm exterior, Google was preparing for the next great revolution, artificial intelligence. AI wasn't new to Google. They'd been using it for years, in search suggestions, in photo recognition, in smart replies. But when OpenAI dropped ChatGPT in late 2022, the world changed overnight. Suddenly, people realized what AI could really do: write, explain, create. And for the first time in decades, Google wasn't the one setting the pace. They were chasing it. Inside the company, alarms went off. Teams scrambled. The code read, alert went out. Google's way of saying, we're in trouble. Because if people stopped searching and started chatting, Google's entire business model was on the line. In early 2023, Google unveiled Bard, its own AI chatbot. Powered by Lambda, one of the most advanced language models on the planet, Bard was Google's answer to ChatGPT. The launch, though, kinda rough. Bard made mistakes during its first demo, and those mistakes cost Google billions in market value overnight. But the team didn't back down. They kept training, tweaking, and improving, because this wasn't just about one product. It was about survival. By late 2024, Google introduced Gemini, the next step in its AI journey. Smarter, faster, more creative, and deeply integrated across Google's ecosystem. It wasn't just about generating answers. Gemini could reason, code, and even create. This was Google's vision of the future. where AI didn't just help you find information, but became a true digital partner. And with Gemini, Google proved it was still a force to be reckoned with. But the rise of AI brought something darker: fear. Jobs were being automated, deep fakes were spreading, and people started asking, how much control does one company have over knowledge itself? Google was walking a fine line, innovating fast but being watched even faster. Governments worldwide demanded regulation. The EU passed strict AI laws, and even the US began to question the unchecked growth of tech giants. Google found itself once again at the center of the world's moral debate, not about search, but about intelligence itself. Inside Google, the culture was shifting again. The early don't be evil spirit had long evolved into do the right thing. But what was the right thing now? Employees debated the ethics of machine learning models. AI researchers warned about bias and control. And while the world saw Google as a machine, the people inside were still human, wrestling with the consequences of their own creation. By 2025, Google had transformed again. Search was no longer just a box with a blinking cursor. It was conversational, visual, and powered by deep neural networks that could understand intent, emotion, and context. You didn't have to Google things anymore. You could just talk, and Google would know what you meant. From smart glasses to AI-driven homes, Google wasn't on your computer anymore. It was your computer, everywhere, all the time. But this time, Google wasn't alone at the top. OpenAI, Microsoft, Amazon, Apple, all were racing for AI dominance. The competition wasn't about who had the best search results. It was about who could teach machines to think like humans. And while the world watched, one thing became clear. The next tech war wasn't about devices or data. It was about minds. So where does that leave Google? From 2 college kids in a Stanford dorm to a $1 trillion AI powerhouse, the journey has been unreal. Google changed how humans find, share, and create information. It gave the world tools, knowledge, and access, but also raised deep questions about power and privacy. It became both hero and villain, a symbol of progress, and a reminder of the cost of innovation. As the company looks toward 2030, one truth remains: Google isn't done changing. It's no longer just about search, ads, or even AI. It's about defining what comes next for technology and maybe for humanity itself. From Backrub to Gemini, from a dorm room to a digital empire, this is the story of Google, the company that organized the world's information, and in doing so, changed the world itself. And if history's taught us anything, it's that every empire evolves, but legends never fade.